All right, you guys, it's episode 44 of War Stories. And without further ado, you already know, I'm going to get straight to it. So check it out, you guys. I know it's been a minute since I dropped a war story. However, for those of you that pay taxes, that's what I've been doing these last couple days. I've been elbow deep in all my paperwork trying to pay all my taxes, not to the NF, to the fucking government. I don't know who's worse. I think the government. But that's what I've been doing these last couple days, trying to get everything in order so that I can reduce the pain, because they be whooping me, man. I don't know about you guys, but I ain't got nothing coming back. They always make me pay. Anyways, I got a couple bangers that I've been wanting to tell you guys, but I'm going to put those on the back burner for a couple days because there's a couple viewers that have been asking about, whether or not I've ever gotten any situations with the COs, with the administration, whether it was in the county jails or the prisons. And I have. I'm going to go over a couple of them in different war stories. I'm going to break them up. But, for the most part, let me say this. I didn't get into too many altercations or disagreements with the COs because I wasn't the type of cat that was disrespectful or confrontational with them. Because the way that I was indoctrinated or the way that I was educated was that, we understood that the COs, no matter what people say or what people believe, they run the prisons, they run the county jails. That's their house. We're there. We're locked up there, but they got the keys. They can make life difficult. When I was doing time and whether it was in Pelican Bay, the county jails, Corcoran, wherever I was at, I always had contraband. It's part of the game, and I like my contraband. And when you fuck with the COs, they come and take your contraband, and they come in, they come through hurricane, tornado, they come through and they take everything, and a lot of the times they'll disrespect your property. And, when you're a Norteño or, even Africanos, when they run together as a group, BGF, 415, the Nazi lowriders, the Mexican Mafia, the Sureños, Norteños, when you're running with a group like that, one individual can set it off for everybody. There's a disrespectful Norteño on the tier, in the block, in the unit, wherever, and he's disrespectful and he goes unchecked. Eventually, they're going to come through and they're going to target all the Norteños. Why? Because they understand how it works. They understand that these individuals, there's a pecking order, and they understand that these individuals answer to somebody. And if they're not being checked and they're not being told, hey, don't be getting at the COs like that. Don't be disrespecting them like that. We don't get down like that. Then they're going to be like, you know what? Fuck them all then. If that's the way that they're going to allow their youngsters to act, well, then we're going to come through and we're going to tear everything up. We're going to make life harder, life difficult for all of them. So, that's one of the reasons why I never got into it with a lot of the COs. A lot of the times, you'll get individuals that bring their problems to work and they're real confrontational and, they act tough. And, a lot of times you just got to let that shit just roll right off you, man. Looking at the individuals that you're dealing with, damn well if they would have been on the streets, they wouldn't be talking like that. But, you gotta pick your battles because, especially when you're in leadership positions, people are watching you, not just that, not just you setting examples, but, a lot of the times you as a leader, you got to make sure that you don't get rolled up for some stupid shit, or you don't get, your cell doesn't get hit. If you got contraband in there, you don't want heat. You don't want that type of heat on you. So, I always kept my distance. I was always respectful. I always got at them, respectfully. I always try to maintain somewhat of a open line of communication with some of them, and others that were just kind of just different. I just stayed away from those cats. So anyway, the situation that I'm going to bring you guys back to actually happened in the Santa Clara County Jail. And that was where most of the situations that I got into with happened, in the Santa Clara County Jail. Now, this one particular situation right here, some of you might have heard me talk about this a long time ago when I first came on to YouTube. I don't know if I've ever done a breakdown on it. It was in my book, but I'm going to run it through to you guys anyway. So At the time, this was in 2000, 2005. I was in the Santa Clara County Jail. I was housed in Area 51. Now, Area 51, the reason why they call it that, it's really called ADSEG. But Area 51, they call it that because of how secluded and how locked down you are, how isolated you are being back there. You're literally behind like two gates, solid door, and there's 4 cells back there and there's nothing back there. You go into cardiac arrest, or you go into some type of medical, you have some type of medical issue, your ass out. Just to get a phone change, we'd had to yell for like an hour straight. And most of the time they wouldn't even come back. They wouldn't even hear you. Rarely would they come through and do a count or anything like that. So, they call it Area 51 for Area 51 over there by Las Vegas, where, there's a lot of mystique about that area. Things happening over there. People thinking that there's a lot of government type of secret squirrel shit going on over there. But it's so secluded and so tucked off to the side. Nobody can gain entrance to that area. That's why they call this area Area 51 in the county jail. So anyway, at that time on the tier, it was me, Cyclone from Goshen, Sykes, Cyclone or Sykes, he goes by both. Then you had Joe Abeda, and I want to say Pony was there from East Hills. So it was the 4 of us. The day that I got into this incident, again, it was 2005. At that time, I was running the county jail. This was before anything started happening, within the jail, all the politics and all that shit. Lencho's punk ass wouldn't get there until like 2007. This was 2005. So everybody was just starting to come in. They were starting to trickle into the jail from the streets. The indictment was just getting ready to hit at that time. So on this particular day, when I got into with this one particular officer, I had a visit. And anytime you're on a max tier, you go through a routine where they strip you out and they go through your legal work or whatever you got. If you're going to an attorney visit, you got some legal work, they'll go through it, do their checks. They have a process for everything. You're going to a visit, they're just going to strip you out, do the routine strip. And then they'll chain you up. You're always going to have shackles. You're considered a threat to the safety and security of that institution, county jail or prison. You guys following me? Okay, so officer comes to my gate, tells me I got a visit. So I strip out, run through the process that I've done a fucking million times since the late 80s. I've stripped out, I've done it. I can do it blindfolded. I can do it on one foot, literally. It's almost second nature. I've done it so many times. So, I run through it. They don't really have to even say nothing. They'll just tell me, hey, strip out, and I'll go through the routine. Strip out, give them my shit, and go through the routine. So I get stripped out, I go down on my visit. I have my visit. When it's time for me to come back, there's a particular officer. I'm not even going to mention his name because it's water under the bridge. We never really buried the hatchet, so to speak. But, a lot of things happened after that. And, he was cool with, I had visitors coming up and, he basically let it be known that it was a dead issue. It was just something that happened. So I'm not going to throw him out there. But anyway, so he comes down to get me for my visit. And as soon as I see him, I'm like, fuck. Because this individual had worked on the tier before, and I knew he was just a different type of CO. He was quiet, standoffish, and when you'd ask him something, he flex, and he just act like a punk, straight up. So he was the type of cat that I would always avoid. So anyway, he comes in. When you have a visit over there, they chain you to the seat. So he comes in, he unhooks me from the seat. I get up and we start walking back towards the elevator. The visit was on the the first floor. It's like in the basement type of thing. I know you got to go down the elevator to get there, or the stairs. So anyway, we're down there in the basement and we're walking up towards the elevator, and he grabs my chains. He grabs me. I believe he grabbed my belly chains from the back. He just grabbed the chain and, he's walking me. And, I understand that maybe if there was any part of this that I was wrong, where I was wrong, it was probably right here, because, they got a job to do. I understand that. And we're considered, we're considered to be a threat. And a lot of times you got guys that will slip their cuffs, or, they'll come out of their chains and they'll fire on them, or they'll hit them with a razor. So, there's real issues that they need to be concerned about. But, when somebody grabs me by the chains and starts to walk me like a dog, it bothers the fuck out of me. But again, like I said, I understand, I'm in jail. I put myself there. That's the routine. That's his routine. A lot of SEALs, they don't do that. But this guy was one of the types that wanted to feel like he was in control. So he did extra shit like that. Not only that, but he would, tell you, turn left, turn right, face the wall, turn around, step over there, get on the left side, don't step over the line. And, when he first grabbed my chains, I tensed up. And I just kind of turned and looked at him. And he's like, come on, man, let's go. So I let it go. But like I said, if there was any part where I was wrong, it was right there for me to let him know that I was tripping off of him grabbing me by the chains. That's his job. And a lot of times that's what a lot of COs do. So we're walking to the elevator, and then he starts with the, step over here, turn around, walk over here, face the wall. And that shit started to get to me. It started to get to me. I felt like it was too much. There was too much of it. And like, he was purposely trying to get a rise out of me. And he got one. When we came off the elevator, he's like, well, for one, let me say this. I know where Area 51's at. I know where AdSave's at. You don't got to give me directions. I've walked that walk 1,000 times to the visiting room before this, this particular time when he picked me up. So, a part of me thinks that, he should understand that. Like, come on, man, he knows where he lives. So, I mean, I don't got to walk him like a fucking dog, but, it is what it is, man. He continued to do that, step over here, step over there, turn the wall. And I didn't say nothing all the way until we got inside of the tier. When we got on the tier, there's 4 cells. The only thing out on the tier is a TV on a roll cart. Other than that, the 4 cells are all on one side. And in AdSeg, which is the only max tier over there like this, you got a solid door and a solid window, a big ass window. So you're behind, you can hardly hear anybody in their cells because it's closed off. You don't got no open bars or open, mesh or anything like that. So that's the only thing on the tier is the TV on the roll cart. So when he walks me in, he keys my door, he opens up the door. And like I've done a lot of other times, I'll be honest, sometimes other COs have had me stand on the wall. Sometimes other COs have been okay with me standing in the doorway of my cell and just kick my feet up so that he can take the shackles off. So he keys my door, I step in my doorway and I kick my foot up so that he can take the shackles off. And when I do that, he was like, get against the wall. And I was like, man, just take the shackles off, man. He's like, get against the wall. And I'm like, man, you gonna take my shackles off or what, man? So he grabs me by the chains and he tries to spin me around. And when he put his hands on me, that was it. Let me say this before I go on any further. Again, I was always taught for the most part, to try to avoid confrontations with these guys because the contraband that's involved, because of the how it can affect the household, how we can lose contraband on account of something that's stupid. You should have more discipline than to allow certain situations to get a rise out of you. And this was probably one of them right here. I'm gonna go as far as saying that I let him push my buttons and dude got under my skin. And that's what happened, man. So when he grabbed me, well, what I was gonna say, let me just add on to that right now. So I've always avoided confrontations with him. But the one thing that I will say that, it's to an extent. A CO gets crazy, they can get it too. Straight up. If they're disrespectful and if they put their hands on me, it's a wrap. That's as far as it can go where I can't tolerate that. I can't tolerate anybody putting their hands on me, let alone a CO in that type of situation right there. And when that happens, the gloves come off and it's on. So anyway, he grabs me by the chains, he spins me around, and when he does that, I spin around, face him, and I got belly chains on, so my hands are shackled to my waist, but I still got my hands. So when I turn towards him, I grab his jumpsuit. I grab both two handfuls of his jumpsuit, and all I could do is just hold him. So we're locked onto each other. We're looking face to face. We're looking at each other, and from that point on, he tried to dip me, and I got shackles on too. So I can only move around on my feet so much. The fucking chains, before the chains start tripping me up. So when he does that, I take all my body weight and I fling him, and we both go flying into the TV. We hit the TV stand so hard, the TV cord popped. The plug was still in the wall, but it completely popped off the TV and went rolling. And then the TV fell on the ground. It broke. We didn't have a fucking TV for the next 3 months. So that was one of the ramifications or the consequences for that incident. No TV. And we liked our TV back there. There was literally, nothing to do but work out, read, and chop it up. But sometimes, man, you gotta watch that dummy box, man. It kills time. But anyway, so we're on the floor. We're on the floor now, and I still got his jumpsuit. I'm not letting go. And he starts hitting the button. He starts hitting the panic button. And he's telling me, let go, motherfucker. And I'm telling him, I'm not letting you go until you let me go. And as soon as he hit the button, it was almost instant when they were on the tier. They came flying through the front gate. When I knew that it was just going to be another 30 seconds, I could hear them coming they came through the front gate. Then I heard them hit the second gate. And I knew when they came through the third gate to just let this fool go, because they were going to dogpile me and the fight was going to be on. But again, you guys got to understand, I didn't have a key at that time, a cuff key. So I couldn't slip my cuffs. If I would have had a cuff key, I would have been in a little bit better shape. But I'm shackled, I'm on the floor, and I got belly chains on. So my mobility is limited. Anyway, just like I said, they come in, they fucking dogpile me. It's like 15 of them. So they're on me and we're fighting. I'm on the ground fighting as much as I can fight, which is not that much, but I'm grabbing what I can grab. I'm fucking grabbing feet, twisting feet. I'm trying to do what the fuck I can. If I can bite a motherfucker, I'm biting. Straight Hannibal Lecter, Mike Tyson. You know what I mean? So I did what I could, but at the end of the day, they picked me up like a fucking suitcase and they turned me around and walked me out ass backwards off the tier. I mean, they literally grabbed my cuffs, they took the belly chains off, put some cuffs on me, and then lifted my arms straight up so that I couldn't do nothing but bend over. And they walked me out of Area 51 straight onto an elevator. And when I got into the elevator, they throw me in the corner. They fucking slam me into the corner. And this one officer, I'm not going to mention his name either, same type of situation. He was trying to break my wrist. He literally was trying to break my fucking wrist. So my hands are behind me and I can feel him like just tweaking my wrist. But my hands are sweaty, his hands are sweaty. So, he's trying to break them, but they're eventually he can only bend them so much. I got some thick ass wrists. My wrists are hella thick. So eventually, his hands end up slipping up, and then he'll have to readjust his grip, and then he tries, and I'm mad. By this time, I'm hot, and I'm telling him, go ahead, break the motherfuckers. If you're trying to get me to yell like a bitch, it ain't gonna happen. Come on, motherfucker, I'll help you. So when he was turning one way, I started turning the other way. Come on, let's break these motherfuckers, man. So he keeps doing that until we get back down to the basement where they have these padded rooms. So as soon as I come off the elevator, again, they walk me off the elevator. Now I'm mad. I'm mad as fuck. My wrists are fucked up. A couple of them are giving me a couple gut shots, kidney shots. And, when I was on the ground, when they first came up on me, when I was still on the tier, they kicked me in the face a couple times, punched me, but it was weak. They weren't really trying to do no serious damage. And I'm going to tell you why. Not because they were scared of me, but honestly, I believe it was because I was a high-profile inmate at that time. The case was high-profile, and I don't think anybody was really trying to get into a situation where, it got ugly, and then they'd have to generate some type of paperwork. That's what I think. Because really, they could have fucking dusted me off and did me foul, but they didn't do that. And even when they were punching me, they were like holding back. That's what it felt like. Because I was telling them, you guys punch like bitches, man. You know what I mean? But anyway, so when they get me in the padded room, they throw me down on the floor, and again, they dogpile me. There's like 15 of them on me. They're holding my legs down, holding my arms down. They take the shackles off. They take the cuffs off, and they got me pinned to the floor. They cut all my clothes off. I'm mad as a motherfucker now. Now I'm laying on the floor, butt ass naked. Fuck my whole visit up, man. All this shit happened within a matter of like 10 minutes. 10 minutes earlier, I was on a visit. 10 minutes later, I'm in a padded room on the floor fighting with 15 COs, and my wrists are fucked up, butt ass naked. So anyway, once they get off me, well, they start to get out, and I'm telling them, you motherfuckers better fucking get the fuck up out of this. You better make it up out of that door before I get up, because if I get up, somebody's gonna get it. These dudes, man, and these dudes literally, they held me down, and they all broke for the door at the same, as fast as they could. And I jumped up, asshole naked, hit the door, and it was like 5 of them pushing the door from the other side. I kept hitting the door, boom, boom, and they ended up locking it up. So they locked me in there, and I would be stuck in there for the next probably good 5 hours. I was stuck in there, butt ass naked. A lot of the COs that I was cool with, that I knew, in the jail, that I'd been on other tiers with, eventually before their shift change or whatever, they would come over there because they obviously heard about it. Hey, Boxer got into a situation. They fucking hemmed him up, brought him downstairs. He's in one of the fucking padded cells. So a couple of them came down there, and they're like, "What's up, man? What happened?" I'm like, "Man, get the fuck up out of here, man. I ain't trying to talk to nobody right now. Right now, it's fuck everybody. Straight up. You guys got me in here like a fucking J-cat, you know what I mean? Asshole naked, dirty ass cell. my wrists were swollen. You know what I mean? They put a couple ooey knots. They put a couple ooey knots on my head, man, but it was weak. Anyway, I'm gonna tell you guys like this, straight up. There was a couple COs that dogpiled me on the tier when they first hit the alarm and they came in. And I'm not gonna say no. Well, I can say this name because he doesn't work there no more. He ended up catching the case, and he went to prison. Matter of fact, if I get a picture of him, if I can pull it up, I will have it on this video. But his name was Navarrete. Hey, if you're watching Navarrete somehow, some way, no offense, man. Bygones are bygones. As far as I'm concerned, it's a dead issue. But I'm gonna throw this out there because it is kind of funny, man. So when they first dogpiled me and they came running in, Navarrete was one of the ones that first jumped on me, and I was like, "Oh, okay. So you want some too on Navarrete?" Because he was my tier officer. And I'm gonna tell you guys like this: for the most part, COs are not supposed to take threats from inmates. Like they're not supposed to fucking bow down to inmates. They're not supposed. There's just certain protocols that they abide by amongst each other, and if they cross those boundaries, they'll be looked at as bitches. So I'm gonna just say this. When that happened, he was like, "Hey, I'm just doing my job, man. I'm just doing my job." And I'm like, "No, it's on, motherfucker." You know what I'm saying? I was just talking shit. I was mad. You know what I mean? I'm getting fucking stomped on, and I was just talking shit. But anyway, so while I was down there in the padded cell later that day, you know, he still had to work the tier. He went into the tier to serve lunches to the other three homeboys that were still in there. And when he got on the tier, he went in there and he told him, he was like, "Hey man," he was like, "you guys need to talk to Boxer." He was like, "Look, I got a family. I don't want no problems. You know what I mean? No, I know how it works. I grew up in San Jose. I got a lot of family that are Norteños. I know all about the NF. I don't want no problems, man." You know, and one of the homies, one individual, I don't know why I'm calling that fool homie, but one individual told him, he's like, "Hey, he's a good dude. Talk to him. He's not gonna fuck, you know, more than likely he's not even gonna be tripping on it, man. He was probably just upset. So don't worry about it. It ain't nothing to trip on." So after everything happened, everything was said and done, when they finally escorted me back up to my cell, gave me all my shit back. The next time he worked the tier, he came on the tier, and you know, I'm not no punk, man. I ain't trying to see nobody cower like that, including that dude, because for the most part, he was cool. And when cooler heads prevailed and I really sat and thought about it, I was like, dude was doing his job. What the fuck was he supposed to do? So I let it go. You know, I wasn't even tripping on him. It wasn't like we were going to be super cool for a while. I was still upset, but I didn't say nothing to him at first. And like later on that day, he was like, "Hey man, can I talk to you?" I'm like, "Check this out, Navarrete. You ain't got to say nothing. You ain't got to apologize to me, man. You know what I'm saying? You were doing your job. Shit happened. It is what it is, man. Don't worry about it. I'm not tripping on it. Ain't nothing. It's nothing more serious than that." And he was like, "I appreciate that, man." You know, it was like, you know, I know how you guys are back here. You guys are respectful, but you know, I'm in a situation where I got to do my job. I got sergeants and lieutenants, you know, standing here. What am I supposed to do? But I ain't trying to get into no issue with none of you guys, man. You're good, man. You know, other COs ended up hearing about that, not from me, from somebody else, but they ended up hearing about it, and they gave him a fucking hard time. Like, bro, are you serious? You really went and tucked balls and went and apologized to an inmate? You know what I'm saying? Like, man, bro, like they really treated him like he was a bitch, man, straight up. A lot of COs were like, "Bro, come tell me he really didn't apologize to you." And I never acknowledged it. I was like, "Man, I'm not gonna go there, man. You know, he was doing his job, and just gonna leave it at that. But anyway, that was one incident. I tell you guys what, I'm gonna give you another one because it kind of ties in to this one right here. But the third one, I'm gonna do that one in another episode. So this one right here happened not too long after this incident. And, you know, one of the individuals that responded to that incident right there was an Africano named Bailey. And let me say this about this motherfucker before I get into this story, because I'm definitely going to throw his punk ass on blast. He's a bitch. Not only is he a bitch, he's a real bitch. This dude got fired for taking steroids and for, I guess he had a job outside of, you know, working in the county jail in the porn industry. That's not working in the porn industry. There ain't nothing wrong with that. However, this motherfucker was working in gay porn. Oh my goodness. Straight up, man. I couldn't believe it because he was a little short, stocky, yoked up cat, always trying to be tough, always talking shit. They always put him on the CERT team. And, you know, anytime, for those of you that don't know what the CERT team is, it's the Security Enforcement Response Team. Those guys are the ones that respond. They're like a goon squad. They're goons. You know, they're the ones that come in and thrash on cats, whoop, beat up cats, or come in and stop fights, whatever. So, you know, he's one of these little cats that would walk around with some little burner gloves on and shit, had his sleeves rolled up, chest poked out, like he was just like he was a tough motherfucker. He was the kind of cat that I seen him a mile away, so I would stay away from individuals like that because I know myself too well. Eventually, I'll end up bumping heads with the dude like that because he comes off like trying to be a bully, right? So anyway, that kind of spilled over into a situation with me and him. He ended up working on that same tier in AdSeg. This was about 3 months later because we had our TV by then. So we ended up getting our TV back, man. They ended up ordering us a brand new TV, but it came like fucking 3 months later. Anyway, was it worth it? Hell no. It was some long days up in that motherfucker with no TV, man. I ain't gonna lie, for all of us. So that night that this incident happened, he was working on the tier, and our regular tier officer, for whatever reason, I don't know, he was sick or whatever. He didn't come to work that day. So they put this idiot on the tier. As soon as he came on the tier, it was like, I think it was second watch. But as soon as he came on to do his count, you know, that for me, when you know, let me just say this, I don't want to get off topic, but you know, doing time, you know, I always like to try to do time stress-free, obviously, you know, and a lot of the times, if there was a CO that had a bad attitude, that was just a punk, that would dictate the mood for the rest of the day. So I would always wait to see who's working the tier. If it was somebody cool, I'd be like, cool, it's gonna be a smooth night, you know, just like any other night. But if it was an asshole that was gonna do something extra, or it was just, you know, it would stress me out, and I'd be like, oh man, fuck, we got this fucking idiot working on the tier. He's gonna, you know, we're not gonna get our extras in the morning, or you know, we're not gonna get this. He's probably not gonna run showers like that. And so I see him come on the tier to do his count. I look over at him. I'm in the cell reading a book, and I turn away and I just laugh and shake my head. He sees that though, right? He sees that, and he was like, he unlocked my trace lock because they were getting ready to do chow not too long after that. And when I did that, he goes, and he goes to the next cell and he opens up the homie's lock. So he walks off the tier. I don't say nothing to him. I don't say shit. And as soon as he gets off the tier, shuts the front door, I'm like, bro, I yell over to Joe Beta next door, and I'm like, man, this fucking punk's gonna be working the tier tonight. It's all bad, man. You know what I mean? It's like, you go ahead, you can clean the shower tonight, bro. I'm not fucking with you. I'm not doing shit when this cat's working. So I forget what he said to one of the other cats that was on the tier. He said something like they asked him to use the phone or something. They asked for something and he didn't want to do it. He started to play that hard ass role. And when he did that, I jumped up and I told him something. I told him I was like, hey Bailey, hey, if you're gonna be acting like a little bitch on this tier, that's how you're gonna get treated. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody on this tier gonna be fucking with you, but we're gonna get what we got coming. And he's like, is that right? I'm like, yeah, that's right. So he was like, okay. So he splits. He leaves. He gets off the tier. He walks off the tier. And what happened after that? So after that, okay. So just because of that little exchange of words right there, just because of that exchange of words, he goes and he gets at a sergeant that I'd never seen before, but who was a punk, straight up punk, because he allowed this to happen. And then he ends up going and getting another cat named Jalot. And then there was another cat named Arndt. So the four of them come in there. And they're all part of the CERT team. The other two were part of the CERT team. Bailey was CERT, but he was working on the tier. So they come running in to the pod and they come up to my door. And as soon as they come up to my door, I see him on my door. I see him opening up my tray slide. I jump up and take off my socks. Back there, you can only wear, what did they give us back there? I think we only had shower shoes back there. They didn't give us shoes. So, you don't got no traction in socks. So I took off my socks and I'm like, okay, so, these the first thing they did when they came running in is they unplugged the TV because I was right in the middle of the tier. TV was almost directly in front of my cell and pushed the TV out the way. And I'm like, oh, okay, these fools are getting ready to come up in here and get busy. So I jump up, take my socks off, and I'm ready. And Bailey opens up my tray slot and he tells me, cuff up. And I've told him, I'm not cuffing up shit. Cuffing up, man, get the fuck out of here, man. He's like, dude, I'm gonna tell you one more time to cuff up or we're coming up in that cell. I said, man, I tell you like this. You step over that fucking line right there, you come up in this cell and it's fucking on, man. I ain't cuffing up. Better get the fuck up out of here. Go get the lieutenant, man. So he looked at the sarge and the sergeant spun around, literally turned around so that he had his back to myself. He did that. Bailey put the key in my fucking door, opened up my door, and I'm standing in there. And instead of coming at me, what he does is he jumps up on my bed to try to come up and get around behind me. When he does that, Jalot and Art rush in at the same time. But when Bailey jumps up on my bed, I turn around and I rush him. I grab him by his legs, I bear hug him so I can try to lift him up and dip him on the floor. But when I did that, Art and Jalot just both barreled into me and all four of us hit the wall. So we're fighting now. I'm throwing punches, they're throwing punches. Jalot was a big dude, Art's a little guy. Bailey, he's a little guy, but he was yoked up. I still say they hit like bitches. I'm hitting them. I'm hitting them back, but they're giving it to me, man. But again, they didn't straight thrash me, man. No, they just got on me, and this is where things ended up taking a turn for the worse. So we're fighting in the cell, and like I said, we were all in the corner, and I still had Bailey. I was bear hugging him, and I pushed off the wall, and we all fell onto the floor. When we fall onto the floor, Art and Jalot grabbed me and they dragged me out the cell. I'm still holding on to Bailey. I'm dragging this motherfucker with me. So now we're on the tier. We're on the tier, and I remember, so these two were holding my arms, and Art, what did he do? He tried choking me. This motherfucker tried choking me, I remember. So when he did that, no, he was either trying to kick me or
He tried to choke me. Either way, man, I bit his fucking leg. I don't give a fuck. I Mike Tyson that motherfucker. And I remember this was a joke. It was a joke that we used to say amongst each other back there on the tier for the next year. Because as soon as I did that, as soon as I bit him, he goes, he bit me. Oh man. When he said that, I said, no, I didn't. He said, yes, you did. So anyway, we're out on the tier and we're still fighting now, man. And now, you know, they're trying to give it to me a little bit. And my neighbor's tray slot, Joe Beta, his tray slot was open. And this was just an assault right here. It was just an assault, hand-to-hand assault. That's all I was looking at it up until that point. But Joe, you know, he was a solid individual. And, you know, we had each other's back there, man, straight up. And while I was on the ground, all I remember seeing is I look up and I see a spear coming out of Joe's tray slot. Well, it was his channel changer, but he put a pencil on the end, and I see him, and he fucking poked Jalot in the back of the head. And when he did that, Jalot was like, he jumped up, he kicked his tray slot shut, and he was like, all right, motherfucker. He was like, it's on. You're next now. And Joe was like, man, fuck you. And you know what I mean? And the same thing happened after that, man. I was just fighting with the three of them at first, but then the whole A team came in there and dogpiled me again. And they did me just the same way they did me the first time. They drug me out, walked me out, ass backwards. They walked me out ass backwards into the hallway, and then they had a chair waiting right there on wheels. They put me in the chair, and one fucking CO, I remember who it was. So when they put me in the chair, they tied me down, they chained me down. One of them grabbed me by my chin and pulled my head back so that I couldn't look nowhere, couldn't do shit. He just was choking the shit out of me. And so they take me down the elevator and ran me up in one of those rooms again, but this time they left me in the chair. They left me sitting in that motherfucker for a long ass time, man. And that was the second situation that I got into. I got into in the county jail. You know, in those situations, man, both of them, they probably could have been avoided. I probably should have just not tripped off Bailey, but you know, I was miserable at that time. I was in a lot of trouble. You know, there was a lot of shit that was going on at that time. You know, both in the county jail and on the streets. And I was looking for a way to get some of that anger out, man. And that right there was, you know, that was my outlet right there, straight up. It ended up being my outlet because I should have avoided it. I should have not let Bailey draw me in like that. Should have just been like, you know what, fuck the dude. Let's just let him work his fucking 8 hours and get the fuck up out of here. The first time, like I said, with that other individual, I should have just let him do his job and just not tripped on it. But for those of you that done time, you might probably, you know what I'm talking about. You know, there's nothing worse than a CO that walks you like a fucking dog and that is on a power trip, that feels like he just has to, you know, dictate your every move and walk you like a fucking dog and tell you where to step over here, don't do this, turn around over there, get on that side of the line. And you know, it's unnecessary, you know, because I was already doing it. I knew how to strip out. I knew where Area 51 was at. I was walking on the right side of the line. I knew where to turn up against it. They didn't have to tell me shit. I get in the elevator, I already walk right into the corner, turn around and fucking face the wall. You know what I mean? I knew where the lines were at. I had walked it enough to where it was like I said, second nature. So, you know, again, I probably could have avoided it, but fuck it. You know, like I said, it was a way for me to get off some steam that I needed to get off. The other situation, it's gonna involve your boy Lancho. Stupid motherfucker ended up getting to me and he's the reason why I would end up getting into some shit that night. But there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more that was involved. I'm gonna save that for another episode. Anyways, this was a quick one. It was just something to get out to you guys. Like I said, it's been a couple days, man, but taxes are due. If you ain't did your taxes, you better fucking do them. You know what I mean? They ain't playing, man. They are not playing. I know they're gonna get me bad this year, but you better get on top of that shit. Otherwise, you know, I know some people, some cats, man, that didn't file their taxes like in a couple years in a row, and they're looking at some crazy ass fucking bills where they got to pay 15 grand, 15, 20 grand. That's crazy. Anyway, this episode 44, I'm going to try to get another one out maybe tonight. If not tonight, I'm going to try to get them out tomorrow. I pretty much got everything done, so you guys are going to start seeing more content come out again. Anyways, it's your boy B. It's episode 44, War Stories, and I'm out.